Welcome to Solar Oregon's How to Go Solar and Storage workshop. My name is Nicole Matisek, and I'm a program manager at the nonprofit Solar Oregon. This is a reoccurring workshop that we've been delivering to home and business owners across our state. We work to provide you, as a consumer, with information you need to make good, informed choices as you explore solar and battery storage. Solar has changed significantly in the past decade and a half, and we update this workshop as conditions in the market change. So thank you for joining us today. Today we'll cover many aspects of solar and battery storage. We'll start by taking a look at how solar works. We'll see the components in a system, learn about a process called net metering that allows you to get credit for the energy you export to the electrical grid, and see how solar can save you money on your utility bills. Next, we'll take a look at how solar contractors assess your home. We'll see common issues with potential sites that can prevent you from going solar. We'll take a tour through the exciting topic of energy storage. And we'll also talk about current available incentives. We'll wrap up by talking about contractor selection as well as the installation process. At the end of the presentation, we'll have a Q&A session. So just a little bit more about Solar Oregon. Solar Oregon is a 501c3 nonprofit that has worked to encourage solar and battery storage adoption throughout the state for over 45 years. We do this by providing reliable and impartial consumer education, working to build a clean energy community, and performing outreach and advocacy. In addition to our workshops, we host Solarize campaigns, solar tours, zero energy showcases, as well as expert panel discussions on a range of topics related to solar. We are a member-based nonprofit, so thank you to our members for your continued support. If you are interested in becoming a member, you can check out that link that is on the screen. We're also going to put some helpful links in the chat that we'll be referencing throughout the webinar. We do have some exciting upcoming events. Our annual member meeting is coming up this week on Wednesday, and that is open to non-members as well. And then we have an annual solar wine tour. So we'll go visit wineries that are on a path to zero energy or who have installed solar. So you can check that out on our website. This workshop series is supported by the Energy Trust of Oregon. Energy Trust is an independent nonprofit that was established in 2002 that provides resources to help educate customers of the investor-owned utilities in our state to use energy efficiency and gain access to renewable energy. They offer key incentives for solar installation and battery storage. Thank you, Energy Trust. For more information, check out energytrust.org or take a moment to check out those links in the chat. So just a reminder, we're going to have a Q&A after this webinar, so feel free to use the Q&A box to be adding your questions throughout this webinar. We'll be using the chat as a place to put resources and links. We'll jump right into how solar works. This is a diagram of a typical solar system. You can see the house in the middle of the diagram and the PV or photovoltaic panels, which are your solar panels, to the left. Sunlight strikes these solar panels and produces a voltage of electricity. Then this electricity will flow to a special component called an inverter or microinverter. And so that'll convert that voltage of electricity to AC or alternating current, which is used by the appliances and outlets in your home. You can see that electricity flows to your home electrical panel, and from there, it'll flow out into your outlets and appliances. When you install solar, you'll get a special meter called a bidirectional meter. This bidirectional meter will measure the flow of electricity out from your home that you send to the grid, as well as the flow of electricity that you pull from the grid. The inverters, we're going to take a closer look at those. So those are components that will convert the DC electricity to AC electricity that can be used by your home. The white box pictured on the left shows a string inverter, and so this is connected to your whole array. And on the right, that shows microinverters, and so these are um, smaller inverters that are connected usually to one or three of your panels. Both inverters and microinverters work well in Oregon. Sometimes your contractor will specialize in a certain setup. Solar panels can be mounted either on your roof or as a ground mount. And in Portland or in other metro areas, it's pretty common to see roof-mounted solar. Ground-mounted systems are also a great option if you have more open land space, or let's say your roof is shaded, you can utilize ground mounts. The vast majority of solar installed in Oregon looks like the panels we looked at the previous slide. There is another technology that we are frequently asked about called solar roof tiles. This is a roofing product that both protects your home from the elements like a roof and generates electricity, just like solar panels. Multiple brands of solar tiles exist, but some solar installation companies do not install them. So if you are looking or interested in this technology, it's great to ask your contractor to see if they have experience installing solar tiles. When your system is producing excess electricity, it gets exported to the grid where it can be utilized by other utility customers. Net metering is the process that allows you to account for the energy you export so that you can gain credit for it. This is why it's important to have a home solar system that matches your electricity consumption and needs. Let's illustrate how this works by walking through two examples. So we have a typical summer month. You can see that the orange bar represents the amount of solar produced. So in the summer, you're getting more solar access and able to produce more electricity. And then the blue bar represents what you consume. So in the summer, you might produce more than you're consuming, and so you'll have a net metering credit earned. On the winter month, when we have foggy weather or more rain, you can see the orange bar showing that less production is occurring from your solar system. And you might be consuming a similar or more amount in the winter. And so you might need to pull from the grid. And so that is a benefit of having a grid tied system, is that when your solar is producing less, you can still access the power from the grid. Net metering runs from April 1st through the end of March. And so you're able to build up these credits during the sunny summer months, and you'll get a year-to-date bank that you can see on your bill. We'll take a look at an example bill shortly, and you're able to pull from those credits when you're producing less. So by building these up in the summer, you build this bank that you can access when your solar is producing less in the winter. At the end of March, your net metering credits will actually be donated to the grid and can help low-income customers. So here's what your monthly bill might look like if you are a PGE customer who has a grid-tied solar system. You can see your excess generation bank at the bottom. It's going to show you your service period, how much your meter consumed, any excess generation you have. And so in this example, you actually produced more electricity than you consumed, so it's added to your bank. If you look at the account charges on the right, you can see that your bill is not zero, and that is because it's a grid-tied system. So you're still paying to be connected to the grid, which has the benefit that you can pull on the grid when your production is low. And so some of these fees are just for being connected to the grid. And so your bill can range anywhere from about $12 to $18, depending on how much your solar is producing. If you do need to pull more electricity from the grid, You might see your bill go up if you don't have that bank of credits. So this is why net metering is really helpful. So you can build those credits when you're producing more in the summer months. Solar is highly modular, and residential solar systems vary widely in size. Usually, systems are designed to match how much electricity you consume. So, when you meet with a solar contractor, you'll be going through your bill and talking about your needs and consumption so that the system design can be matched for what you consume. Because we have net metering, it's helpful to match your system size to your needs so that you don't end up with too much excess generation. In Oregon, the average system size is about 8 kilowatts. And so solar is measured in kW or kilowatts, and batteries are measured in kilowatt hours. And so we'll talk a little bit more about batteries later in the presentation. Your system design can also be impacted by other features such as solar access, aesthetics, budget, available roof space. And if you live in an HOA, there could be certain restrictions on how your solar is installed, such as if it's facing the street. Now we're going to jump right into aspects of your home that can make it easier or more difficult to go solar. Regardless of your location in the state, the orientation of your roof has a big impact on your solar access. This diagram shows a home and its orientation with respect to the cardinal directions. The arcs over the home show the path of the sun in the summer and winter. Regardless of the season, here in Oregon, the sun will always be in the southern sky. So usually south-facing roofs have a great solar access, and so ideally, solar is installed on south-facing roofs. However, west and east-facing roofs can also work. Uh, in cloudier parts of the states, roofs that are facing east can be slightly less effective if there is more fog in the early morning. And then usually, solar is not installed on north-facing roofs. Even if you have a perfect south-facing roof, shade from objects like trees or buildings can prevent you from receiving enough solar resource for solar. It can be hard to self-assess whether shading on your roof will negatively impact the amount of solar you can produce. So your solar contractor will be able to assess this for you, either using an instrument or using satellite imaging software. If you do have a shaded roof, you could maybe consider installing on another exterior building that you have, maybe that gets more solar access or ground mounting. The complexity of your roof also can impact your ability to go solar. Solar systems can be split into several sections and span multiple roof planes. However, ideal roof conditions will allow for a continuous installation on a roof plane. The image on the left shows a complex roof. The one on the right shows a simple roof. The pitch of the roof can also impact the installation and also the cost of installation. And there are certain roof setbacks that might be required. So that would be taken into consideration in the design. Possibly the biggest factor that can um, impact whether you are able to go solar is your roof condition. Your roof will need to be replaced when it reaches the end of its life. And when you do that, you'll have to uninstall and reinstall your solar. And this service can cost more money and increase the cost of your solar. So it's important to plan ahead. For this reason, we strongly recommend that you have 20 plus years of roof life left when you install solar. Many panels will last 20 to 25 years. And different roof types have different lifetimes. So with metal roofs typically having a longer lifespan than asphalt shingle roofs. But most roof types will work with solar, and that is something that your contractor can help assess. Finally, what's underneath your roof impacts how easy it is for you to go solar in order to get the building permits for your installation. Your contractor will get inside your attic and check the structure of your roof. And it depends on what jurisdiction you're in, could impact the codes and requirements. Newer homes tend to have trusses, which are shown on the left. Older homes might have rafters. If you have rafters, they might be engineered in a way that still meets the code. So it's just important to take this into consideration. If you do need to add any engineering or um, additional supports, this can increase the cost to do this reinforcement. So something to keep in mind if you have an older home. We'll jump right into the topic of battery storage. It's important to know what your solar system can do and what it can't do. And it's important to note that solar by itself does not allow you to use solar electricity during a power outage. To do this, you'll need to add a battery. And this ability to use power when the grid is down is called energy resilience. So, solar and battery storage are complementary technologies. Solar makes your battery more effective by recharging it, and your battery allows you to access your solar independently from the grid. Here's an example of what solar paired storage might look like if you had roof mounted solar. Batteries are sometimes installed in a garage or on the side of the house. Power outages vary in their causes and frequency, as well as their duration. Frequent short outages are usually caused by either storms or squirrels. In some areas, slightly longer outages could be caused by red flag weather events that are where there's high fire danger. And at these times, utilities may need to perform what is called a public safety power shutoff. And then there's also a risk of earthquake. So it's important to know what type of outage you're expecting to endure so that your contractor can design a system that will meet your needs, um, as well as your energy consumption. When it comes to picking a battery, there are many good products on the market. However, due to manufacturer certification requirements, many contractors specialize in one or two brands. For this reason, if you want to compare different battery technologies, you may need to compare multiple quotes. And we do recommend getting at least 3 quotes for solar and battery storage installation so that you can compare. It's important to know that you cannot mix and match the battery brands. Some battery manufacturers have different size modules that you can mix and match, but because of the chemistries, it's important to keep the brands the same if you're going to pair a few batteries together. Most batteries have between 10 and 14 kilowatt hour capacities. The majority of batteries on the market right now are lithium ion phosphate. There are new battery technologies that are continually being worked on. And so you can always ask your contractor about what brands they specialize in. And again, compare multiple quotes um, as you look to add solar and storage. It is very important to set your expectations about what a battery can do and what it cannot do. Even if you don't use much electricity, a single battery will not back up your entire home for a meaningful period of time. However, you can do what is called a partial backup. So, in this scenario, certain circuits in your home will receive power from the battery, but the rest of your home will lose power. And then, if you're able and willing and have the budget, you can do multiple batteries or do a whole home backup, but that can be very costly. When you get a partial home backup, the way you divide your home into sections that are backed up and sections that are not is based on the breakers in your electrical panel. When you've selected which circuits you'd like to receive battery power, your contractor will remove those breakers and place them in a newly installed essential loads panel. And so you'll have this second electrical panel that's wired to your battery. There are other options, such as smart electrical panels, where you might just replace your electrical panel with a smart electrical panel that allows you to have some flexibility with what loads are backed up. Battery system sizing processes entail a detailed conversation with your contractor, balancing your desired functionality as well as your budget. A great way to think of this process is the trade off between two questions. So, what needs power and for how long? Items that are most frequently chosen to be backed up include a refrigerator to keep food from spoiling, lights in a common area, and a couple outlets to be able to charge a laptop or cell phone. If you're interested in installing a battery, when you install it, it can affect both the system design and the price. And so it's important to let your contractor know if you're thinking about adding a battery at a later time, so that can be considered when you're designing. As we discussed, there are two types of electricity, AC and DC. Batteries, just like solar panels, tend to use DC or direct current electricity when your home uses AC or alternating current electricity. When your battery is part of the initial system design, your contractor can select an inverter that serves both of these components. So again, important to plan ahead. Batteries do require space, and they have to be installed to meet certain codes. Um, by National Electric Code, batteries cannot be installed in crawl spaces or other confined spaces. All right, so let's take a look at great incentives that exist for solar and battery storage. It's really exciting to see that there have been more incentives that have come online for battery storage as well. So we'll take a look at those and then jump into a couple example budgets. So the ITC, or Solar Investment Tax Credit, is a dollar for dollar tax credit, meaning that you can reduce the taxes that you owe by 30% of the cost of your solar and or battery storage installation. And so this is an incentive that you don't receive immediately. You must apply for it when you file for your taxes. And note that if you don't owe enough taxes in the year which you install, you can claim this credit over the course of several years. So again, you need tax liability for this. Um, this credit is based on policies. So as policies change, this could impact different incentives. So it's important to keep in mind that incentives for solar and battery storage do change depending on um, certain policies and funds. So Solar Oregon is not a tax professional. I'm not a tax professional. This information is just to keep you informed and share this information for educational purposes only. And so we don't share any tax advice. We do recommend, if you're thinking about claiming this, that you consult your tax professional. And um, it's always good to, when you're making large financial decisions, to um, ask a financial professional as well. That being said, there are a few things to know about the ITC. It covers the cost of both solar and battery storage. It applies to solar panels, like traditional ones that we showed in the roof-mounted picture, as well as solar roof tiles. This incentive is straightforward and easy to claim. It's helped countless home and business owners make solar more affordable. Be aware, though, that you are responsible for making sure you claim this correctly. So that's why it's great to ask a tax professional. There are some common myths and misconceptions about the ITC. And the most common one is that re-roofing costs can be claimed, which is not true. If you are claiming the credit on your own and have questions about what expenses qualify, again, feel free to ask your tax professional. Not everything online is correct, so you just want to make sure you're getting that expert opinion. And this credit is claimed on IRS Form 5695, Section 3, as well of the IRS Form 1040. And so this would be something that you claim when you're doing your taxes. The Energy Trust of Oregon standard incentive is a flat 1,000 to 1,200 dollar incentive for any customer of PGE or Pacific Power installing solar. So this is an incentive that you would actually receive immediately and which your installer would apply for you on your behalf. You do have to work with an Energy Trust Solar Trade Ally contractor to claim this credit, and we'll be sharing a resource to connect with a Solar Trade Ally as well. This incentive does vary. So, for example, if you're a PGE customer, you can get $1,000 for solar. If you're a Pacific Power customer, you can get $1,200 for solar. There's also a great incentive for home battery storage. It's a $500 per kilowatt hour um, of storage installed, up to $6,000. So you can receive this incentive whether you install solar and storage separately, or if you install them at different times. Importantly, in order to receive this incentive, you must work with and have the system installed by an Energy Trust Trade Ally contractor. If your utility is not PGE or Pacific Power, you would not qualify for the Energy Trust of Oregon incentives, but you may receive additional incentives from your utility company. So it's great to check with your utility and see if they have any incentives available. Sometimes there's ones available for energy efficiency or solar. So really good to check with your utility if you're looking to go solar. The Energy Trust of Oregon also has an income qualified incentive as well as their standard incentive. This income qualified incentive or solar within reach incentive is a dollar per watt incentive and allows PGE and Pacific Power customers to reduce their installation costs. For example, a household of 4 qualifies for a solar within reach incentive um, if their income is less than $128,564. And so the Energy Trust of Oregon has these household sizes and cutoffs on their website. So I'm just going to re-put that in the chat. And so if you click the Solar Within Reach link, you can learn more about this incentive. Before we look at example budgets, we just want to recap the reasons why solar and battery storage costs vary. So as we stated, solar and installations can be very customizable and are usually designed to meet your energy consumption and needs. So the cost of solar is going to depend on the system size, if you need to do any re-roofing or structural analysis, if you need any structural reinforcement, that can impact the cost. The cost of battery storage depends on similar aspects. If you're installing more than one battery, that can increase the cost. If you are adding a battery later and need to reconfigure your system to add the battery, that can also increase the cost. If you need to do any upgrades to your electrical panel, can also impact the cost of battery storage and solar. For these reasons, it's important to quote the price of solar when you have information about your site. And so sharing that information with your contractor is going to help them prepare an accurate quote for you. Now we'll jump into some sample budgets. This first sample budget is showing if a customer who is getting solar and adding a 8 kilowatt system. In the columns, you can see different incentives that are available depending on the customer type. So if you're a Pacific Power customer, a PGE customer, if you are income qualifying, so that's marked as LMI for PGE and Pacific Power, that could also impact the amount of incentive you're able to qualify for. And so the cost before incentives is shown. And then if you apply that Energy Trust of Oregon incentive, you can see that helps decrease the out-of-pocket cost. And then if you're installing solar, you're eligible to apply for that federal tax credit. So when you're doing your taxes at the end of the year, you can decrease the taxes you owe by 30%. And you do have to have tax liability to claim this. So that's important to remember. you're adding solar and storage, here is an example of what the cost might look like with incentives for different customer types. In this budget, we are assuming an 8 kilowatt solar system and 13.5 kilowatt hour battery storage. Depending on what incentives you qualify for, that can impact your out of pocket cost. And then because solar and storage are both eligible for the federal tax credit, you can get 30% of the cost of those when you apply for that at the end of the year, when you do your taxes. And then this is a sample budget if you are looking to add battery storage to an existing solar system. So there might be some additional costs there in order to incorporate the battery in the design. It shows the different costs for different customer types, and you can see if you're able to access the Energy Trust of Oregon incentives, that'll help you with your out-of-pocket cost. And then you can also apply for the federal tax credit if you have tax liability. And these budgets do not take into consideration the net metering credits and the bill savings that you could see on your bills. So that's another important factor when considering to go solar. Because solar and battery storage entail a upfront cost, many homeowners will utilize financing. Some homeowners can obtain a loan through their bank, they have an existing relationship, but some banks do not provide loan products that are tailored to solar or storage. So your contractor may partner with a credit union or third-party broker that offers a package that is geared towards solar. These types of loans allow you to refinance when you claim the ITC, which can help minimize the total interest you owe on your loan. Note that interest payments on your loan will not qualify for the tax credit. As with any major financial decision, it's important to make sure that you assess the options carefully and are looking at the fine print. Be checking out any fees. Dealer fees are something to be looking for when you're financing solar. And so you want to make sure that you're assessing those and also weighing your options so that you make the right financial decision for your home. All right, now that we have looked at how solar works and the incentives, we'll take a look at how you can find a contractor and what to expect when you are installing solar. Besides offering incentives for solar, Energy Trust of Oregon has a certification program for contractors to help ensure a high quality of workmanship. And so Energy Trust Trade Ally contractors have been rigorously vetted and are contractors who can offer the Energy Trust of Oregon incentives. So if you are looking to connect with one of these contractors, you can take a look, and the chat has the link to the Energy Trust Solar Bid Tool, and I'll go ahead and re-put that in the chat now. So when you're ready to get quotes for your home or business from contractors, you can use this tool, the Solar Bid Tool, on the Energy Trust of Oregon website to request free assessments from 3 highly trained trade ally contractors in your area. If you are in an area that has less contractors, you might get less than 3, but we do recommend, if you can, to get at least 3 quotes so you can compare these when you're installing solar and battery storage. This solar bid tool is a pretty quick form. It takes 3 to 5 minutes and is a good way to get connected to companies that can best serve your storage and solar needs. Once you've selected your contractor, you'll receive quotes. And if you decide to move forward with a quote, you'll sign a contract. And once you sign your contract, this is what the installation process might look like. So, your contractor would handle the permitting and apply for the Energy Trust of Oregon incentives on your behalf. They'll also design your system based on the conversations you had about energy consumption and your needs. It's important to remember that they will need your signature on some of these documents. So, the more organized you are, the smoother the process will be. System design can be very quick, but it is important to know that some jurisdictions have longer permitting processes. So, permitting can range from 2 to 12 months. Multnomah County can have longer permitting times. So that is something to take into consideration when you're getting solar installed. And then some counties have shorter permitting times. Once the permitting is approved and it's time to install, the installation is actually very quick, can be 1 to 4 days. And so if you have a pretty simple design, it's usually speedy. If you're adding quite a few batteries, that might be closer to the 4 days. And then after your system is installed, your contractor will manage your permit inspections and coordinate the installation of your new bidirectional meter that we talked about when we looked at the system components. And your contractor will also schedule your interconnection with the utility. This can take a couple weeks. And then once you're interconnected, your system will be producing clean and renewable power from the sunlight falling on your property. So installation is pretty quick and easy, and solar does work in Oregon. So we're going to jump right into the Q&A, and feel free to add questions to the Q&A box. And so if you do have questions that come up while you're going through your solar journey, please feel free to reach out and let us know. Thank you for attending today. We hope to see you at some of our upcoming events, such as our annual meeting this week and our solar winery tour in May of 2025.